You're listening to Astonishing Healthcare, the podcast hosted by Capital RX, focusing on the biggest issues affecting healthcare consumers, benefits plan sponsors, and health plans. We're covering the inside baseball on how things truly work, or don't, in the U.S. healthcare system and pharmaceutical supply chain in an astonishingly efficient way.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Astonishing Healthcare. This is Justin Vineri, your host, and joining me in the studio today is Mike Miele. Mike has been a guest previously on episodes 55 and 61 most recently. That was for stop loss and hours banking. We've got a bunch of new products here at Capital RX, and Mike, you've been kind of lead or working on most of those, so thanks for taking the time to come back and talk about another one.
Hi, Justin. It's my pleasure.
This episode's going to focus on our level funded program, which is called Capital Equilibrium, right?
That is correct.
All right. So before we jump into that, for anybody that hasn't heard you on the show before, doesn't know you, maybe give us a quick 30 seconds to a minute on your background. You're Senior Vice President of Insured Services. What does that mean?
It means that I do the insurance programs for the company. So I'm a health actuary by training. I wouldn't say I'm a PBM person. I started my career as a health and welfare actuary, and I've worked in and out of the PBM industry for most of my career, and now I'm at a PBM. So that's a first for me. Before this, I was at Arthur J. Gallagher for 12 years.
And this level funded concept, explain it to me like I'm 5.
Okay. So when a level funded program is kind of halfway between a self-funded program and a fully insured program. So self-funded means the employer takes 100% of the risk, and whatever claims come through, it's their responsibility. On the other end of the spectrum is fully insured, which tends to be more attractive for smaller groups. And they just pay a monthly premium and they never have to worry about whatever the claims are, but the insurance company takes care of everything. Level funded is kind of in the middle of that, where you are not interested in taking the entire risk yourself. You'd like more budgeting certainty. But the way a level funded program works is it's a self-funded program with a stop loss program. So if anybody's heard my podcast about stop loss, this is one of the use cases for this program. So this is a pharmacy only level funded program, but I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this like you're 5. So let me try a different way. Let's say I'm a township and I'll pick New Jersey, my home state. And the school district, they have a pharmacy program, they have a medical program for their employees, and they're in the state plan for medical. So they basically are in a fully insured arrangement on the medical.
Everything's bundled together, right?
Everything's bundled together. Yeah.
Okay.
But they decided for whatever reason not to be in the state program for pharmacy. And we get that a lot for this type of a product. They say, well, the state's program has a closed formulary and they really only have 3 choices of copays. We want a little bit more flexibility than that. We don't want to cover these things, but we really want to cover those things. And so they need a custom solution. Like, great, we'll just go self-funded. We'll design a program for you and you can have whatever you want. Oh, no. I'm a township. I'm a school district. I have a fixed budget. I need to know exactly how much this is going to cost me. So that's where a level funded program for pharmacy works so well. So they're in the state plan for medical, and on the pharmacy side, we guarantee that they will not pay more than $2 million for their pharmacy program.
So it's a carve out with a guarantee.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to having a level funded arrangement with somebody like Capital RX. That we're not the only ones that do this. There's actually companies that specialize in this market. What I think is really unique about us is we're combining the transparency of Capital RX with the power of coupling it with insurance. If you're in a fully insured pharmacy program and you say, hey, I hear these things called pharmacy rebates. How much do I get? Well, good luck getting that out of your insurance company. They generally won't tell you. They say, well, that's built into the numbers. But in our model, we're very transparent about rebates. So when we underwrite the program and quote the actual fees, we show you, here's what you're spending now with insurance company A. Here's what we think the costs will be. And oh, by the way, here's what we think the rebates will be, which will be a deduction in your premium, the amount that they pay every month. So we've been doing this since January of 2025. We kind of had a soft launch just to make sure that we had everything working the way it should. And now we're ready to launch to the market. So we're letting people know now this podcast reaches a lot of people. So attention, municipal markets. Capital RX is in the pharmacy level funded business.
without being too salesy about it. Thanks, Mike. We have this product, but in general, this isn't new to the market.
There's a handful of companies that deal in this market, but what I've been finding when I talk to brokers that specialize in this, they were very, very receptive to, wow, there's only like 2 or 3 places I can go for this type of a benefit in my home state. So what states are you in? And we're basically in all states.
Got it. Similar to carve in versus carve out, why do that? Does it create more work? What are some of the questions or considerations that an employer, whether it's a municipality or schools, what are some of the considerations that they would say, like, obviously more transparency around rebates is interesting, right? That would be attractive, I would think. But what are a couple of other things that are pluses of going with a level funded plan? The certainty sounds like it's really attractive in terms of total spend.
Why do they want level funded? It's because of budgeting certainty. And why do they pick us versus somebody else? It's 1,000% based on price. So this is a very price sensitive product. So oftentimes when you're in the self-funded world, and we've talked about this at length, Kristen and I talked about this on the procurement podcast, it's challenging to figure out what the best deal is on the self-funded side because PBMs tend to make things overly complicated. But if I'm charging $120 a month and the other bidder is quoting $140, I'm better.
Yeah.
There are no caveats in these programs. It's you pay $120 a month and, I'm saying for a single rate, we would quote a whole rate structure for single plus a spouse, a family coverage. So the rates would vary based on that, but it's very, very price sensitive. Now there is another use case of this product. So now I'm talking to the self-funded market that is a little frustrated because they thought their PBM was going to save them 20% and their costs instead went up 20%. And their consultant said, well, when I told you you would save 20%, it was a theoretical savings. It was a point in time analysis. And what I'm finding is there are quite a few self-funded groups that are saying, hey, that level funded thing, can you do that for a self-funded deal? And I said, why, yes, you can. So that was not what we had built the product for. The product was built for the insured market, but it can be used. And what I love about that is when, again, there's tremendous savings that can be had when you switch from a different PBM to somebody like Capital RX that is very transparent, passing everything through. And then we're essentially able to lock in those savings with a stop loss policy. So again, that was not what it was built for. It was built for the municipal market, but it works just as well in that market. So now I'm talking to the self-funded brokers out there. If you would like to see a level funded quote, we'd be happy to put that together. It's no trouble. We would do our normal bidding. And then separately, we would price the insurance policy on top of that.
So it works like a traditional RFP in that sense?
Yes, we would just add that as a policy rider, if you will.
And stop loss fitting into the picture, just to expand on that a little bit. Now, obviously, GLP-1s have driven up everyone's costs dramatically. What sorts of things you mentioned, $1 million plus claims are up substantially year over year for the last few years. What sorts of things go into that where stop loss can be helpful? How does that work?
Well, again, stop loss can be used to provide a ceiling, if you will, to the employer on how much they're going to spend next year. So what I find is in the municipal markets, let's say you propose a budget of $2 million for your pharmacy program and, hey, bad news, it came in at $2.5 million. Well, that would be a real problem for a township. It's not like they can go back to the taxpayers and say, hey, we need a little extra money. Their budgets are fixed for the year. If they, need more money in the future, they would have to raise taxes, and that's not an easy thing to do in a township. But I think that translates to the employer self-funded market just as well. I mean, I've met people that own hotels and they've had really high claims experience and said, oh my God, we're going to have to close one of our hotels down. This health stuff is killing us. So it would be a useful tool for them as well to say, look, this is my budget. And it's more fixed, but there's still benefits to a level funded program over a fully insured. Take pharmacy out of it. Let's say I have a risk and the insurance company quotes me $2 million a year. Well, if I don't have any claims at all, I don't get a refund from the insurance company. They said, well, it was a winner take all deal. You paid $2 million and we took a risk and it worked out for us. So tough. But the way level funded programs work is if the experience comes in better than expected, the employer receives a dividend, a refund. Maybe we don't refund the money, but we give you a 0% increase for the following year. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we can work it out with the employer. So that is a true true benefit. And again, because we're so transparent, we're not hiding anything. So if rebates come in the way we had projected and experience is more favorable, then that passes back to the customer.
And forgive me if this is a silly question, but the full service PBM solution, that's just the same any self-funded employer would get, using Judy, the customer care team.
So the way I like to explain it to people, and I'm kind of being a wise guy. So I'm running Capital Equilibrium. It's this new division of Capital RX. So we quote the premium and the customer would pay us that monthly premium. And then I found this little PBM called Capital RX to be my PBM. So the contract is actually between me and Capital RX, and the customer's arrangement is with Capital Equilibrium. But everything is the same. So Capital RX bills Capital Equilibrium for the claims and the member services and the PAs. All that stuff goes through this separate risk-bearing entity. And this is not based in Switzerland. We're not doing this to hide anything. It's the way insurance works. We are a captive insurance company domiciled in Tennessee, and Tokyo Marine is our reinsurer. So we're not taking all of the risk. We're taking some of the risk, and Tokyo's taking some of the risk as well. So we're very happy to have them as a partner.
And those are the kinds of questions I assume people ask when they're vetting these.
They should. I mean, remember, an insurance arrangement is a promise. It's a promise that if things go bad, your insurer will pay for everything. So you want to make sure you have an A-rated insurance company behind you. And I'm sure everybody that's listening to this podcast has heard of Tokyo Marine before. They're big in this market, but this is relatively new to them as well. They normally don't do pharmacy only reinsurance programs, but they did this for us, and we're just really thrilled to be working with them.
That's exciting. Okay. One more question, and then, of course, my finishing question for you. So I hope you have a good, surprising, astonishing story ready, or start thinking about one now if you don't.
Pressure's on.
Along the lines of what other questions folks should be asking, what pain points are out there where someone would need to potentially look at running an RFP to switch? Is it really just all, as you said before, very price sensitive? Is it we want to offer richer benefits, costs are running away from us because of covering weight loss or something else? What's the catalyst to have a discussion here?
It's generally when the employer is facing a very large future increase. And for those of you who know anything about the New Jersey market, the state insurance program has been having a tough couple of years. So they've been announcing 25% increases. And that's freaking people out, because when you're a township or a school district, 25% increase is hard to absorb into the tax base. So they are looking for other solutions. And oftentimes we can come in considerably below the state. And again, it's because it's such a price sensitive market. That's where it really, really happens. Generally, people don't move. If you've got a good insurance program and you're getting 3-4% increases every year, they tend to stay where they are. They're not constantly bidding the business, but when you're faced with a double-digit increase, it does make you want to look around.
It's funny because it's math and it's just compounding against the payer in this situation, right? Even if it's 3-4% or 7% or 12, like 25% is obviously seriously problematic for a fixed budget. But when this is year after year, it becomes an issue. So if someone's forecasting or being told this is your increase, it's probably time to look around.
It is. And this is a new market. You had said earlier, this is not a new product. And you are correct in that. But there are new players in the market. There's a number of stop loss carriers entering this market. And I'm excited because it's going to make it for a better, more competitive environment for employers. More choices are always better than less choices.
And last question. Since we've started this earlier this year, or just since you've been an observer of the level funded market and products like this, what would you say is the most astonishing or surprising thing you've seen that's safe to share, of course? Always got to put our compliance hats on and make sure that it's safe to share. But tell us a good story to send us off.
Oh, boy. Well, the most astonishing thing that I've seen, Justin, is the impact that GLP-1s have had on future trend. It's considerably more when GLPs are in play. And so I just caution employers that are thinking about covering GLP-1s for weight loss that it has a very long-term effect on the financials of your program.
And just curious, a quick follow-up on that. Your gut, Mike, as an actuary and someone that's been in this industry for a long time, if there are no new approvals for GLP-1s, for new indications and things, do you see the potential for competition to maybe bring the price down and help moderate this a little bit? Or is it something that you're concerned about for, 2 to 3 to 5 years?
So there's two things that are going to happen. There are going to be more indications and there'll be more people using it. I think I heard the other day there's 100 GLP-1s in the pipeline. Now, that shouldn't scare plan sponsors. You should welcome that because that will create a race to the bottom. And at some point, these drugs become generic as well. So we don't have another 10 years of this in front of us. We probably have another 3 to 5 years of maybe some scary times. I see the price dropping per pill, per injection, but I see the use being bigger. So it's probably going to be a wash, but it is more expenditures than if you didn't cover it.
Got it. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time today and explaining capital equilibrium and sharing your outlook. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thanks, Justin.
Thank you for listening to Astonishing Healthcare by Capital RX. Head over to cap-rx.com/insights and visit the podcast section for show notes and other relevant content. If you liked this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And definitely share the link to the show with your network if you enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day.